Well, come on along and welcome aboard to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Quill. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, wherever you may be headed. We appreciate you taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride. Jake's at the wheel, keeping us on the track here on this Hump Day, August 7th. We've hit the midpoint of the week. It's another football practice day number 6 for the Hoosiers. This fall camp is robustly engaged now. Yesterday was the first full day of pads. Looking forward to seeing how that action goes today out there. Open to the media today, and so we're heading back out there today to check that out and see how things are going. Now that they're hitting, a lot to get to today. Big show, man. Matt Weaver from Peaks.com is going to join me. We'll talk about this football program and where we are right now, what we've seen so far in this early part of the fall camp. How about James Blackmon Jr., former Hoosier star, shooter, now heading to Italy for a second season to play professionally. He's on here with us today, though, before he heads across the pond. Looking forward to talking to JBJ. The TBT got finalized last night, the basketball tournament. If you didn't see that, you missed a pretty good ending. There's a group from Ohio State taking on a group from Marquette, some alumni from both of those. The win would go to the Buckeyes. How about a $2 million free throw? William Buford was at the line because of the Elam ending now, don't forget. If you're not familiar with that, they have the Elam, it's called the Elam ending. It's kind of it's very unique, but it's kind of a cool deal. They get to a certain point of the game with about 4 minutes to go, and a point threshold is set that whoever reaches it first wins. I think the score was like 56-56 or whatever, at whatever point it was. And then the Elam ending score was 66. So the first team to 66 wins. And it came down to free throws. The Buckeye squad was up with 64 points. And then the foul, and he has to go to the line. But can you imagine being at the free throw line for a $2 million free throw? He hit the first one. He didn't miss one throughout the tournament. But still, it comes down to, you talk about pressure. You see the guys on the court during the season. Oh, there's a lot of pressure. He's got to hit. No, $2 million, that's a lot of pressure. When your entire team, all these guys that you've worked hard with are back there, and it's not just a game on the line. It's $2 million. It's $200,000 each. That's pressure. No, that's pressure. And he sank them, knocked them down. The NCAA, they're at it again. They just released some new criteria for agents that want to represent prospective NCAA athletes wanting to test the waters to head to the NBA. One of those new criteria is that they must have a bachelor's degree. Kind of odd. And many people think that this is attempting to single out a single person, Rich Paul, who represents LeBron. LeBron went to Twitter to express himself. It did not derail Taco Tuesday for LeBron, though. A lot of guys have picked up some recruits. Got a text into the show from Joker. Christian Watford tweeted out that they need to get an IU alumni team next year. Yeah, I commented on that, Joker. I saw that as well. And it's funny because talking about the TBT, I was thinking that very thing. I'm like, man, how does Indiana not have a team in this? Jordan Hulls and Will Sheehy, Christian Watford. There's a group. There's a group right there. But, yeah, he tweeted out to say, hey, who's playing? Who's getting a team up next year? Text in the show from Tim. Do we know a time and place for Leal's decision? Well, yes and no. Anthony Leal, of course, is set to make his commitment on Friday. It's going to come around Friday evening. There's no set time. I chatted with Anthony yesterday. It's just going to be Friday evening. I'm guessing 6-ish. That's just a guess. a guessing starting point. And it's going to come out on either Twitter or Instagram. That's just it. That's that simple. No big press conference, no TV show reveal with the hats and all that crap. Just like, this is where I'm going. Very calm, cool, nondescript. I dig it. So, but that's coming on Friday. So it gives something for Hoosier basketball fans to look forward to. Waiting to see who their next assistant coach is going to be. It's kind of been dragging on a little bit farther than I thought that it would. No reason for a terrible rush, but these things usually don't take this long. But this one is. We'll have to wait and find out who that's going to be. The Illini picked up an unusual commitment. Austin Hutcherson was a D3 player. He played for just a Division III school up in Connecticut. He was trying to improve his game. He's been working out with some guys that I don't know how he ended up knew him, but one of them was Noah Vonleh, and he was wanting to increase his game, go back to the D3 school, and then try to maybe hope to play in a Division I school his senior year. The guys he's playing with said, dude, you got to go now. So he put a bunch of YouTube videos together. Coaches saw this, and then they started requesting some USB files on him. Notre Dame, Creighton, Illinois all offered. He signed with Illinois. He's a 6'6" guard. He shot 40% from three. He had 88% of his free throws. Could be a very, very nice pickup for the Illini. And they have been adding talent. They have been quietly adding talent over there. Beware of the Illini. USC lands the number one recruit in the country, Evan Mobley, a 7-footer. His dad is an assistant coach at USC. Got the job a year ago. 2 months after that, his other son, Isaiah, 5-star, also at USC. So USC's looking dapper. Very dapper. But the Big Ten tour bus rolls on. Yesterday, they were at Columbus, Ohio. Joker texted in that the TBT team, Jared Jeffries, Kirk Haston. Kirk's a little busy. Yeah, that would be nice, but Kirk's a little busy being a legislator in Tennessee right now. But Jared Jeffries, man, I don't know if he wants to go through having to get back in shape for all that. He'd rather catch some fish. A lot easier sitting in that boat. But it will be interesting to see. That they're going to get a team together next year. There's no doubt. No doubt. Hey, we got a lot to get to. Like I said, on the program today, Matt Weaver from Peaks.com, we got to break down what we've seen so far at football camp. Not a lot, but today is really going to start telling some things, I think. They're in full pads. They're going. So we'll check that out. James Blackmon Jr. is on the show today, man. He's in the second hour, around the 40-minute mark, thereabouts, in that second hour. So make sure you stay tuned. We got plenty coming to you. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Don't cry, don't raise your eye. It's only teenage wasteland. Sally, take my hand.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily, Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
He will blow his whistle, please, 'cause I smell frost on cotton leaves and I feel that southern breeze.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle with you, as always, here on this Tuesday, August 6th. Could not be happier now to be joined by Jared Odell, former Hoosier great. Jared, how are you, man?
Doing well. Can't complain.
How are things going? What's new with Jared? What's life like for Jared Odell right now?
It's always exciting. I got a 13-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old daughter, so they both just started school today, and we live up just east of Kokomo in a little town called Greentown, which is pretty close to where my wife and I both grew up, and so now we're just doing the work thing and the parent thing, and trying to make all ends meet and get the kids where they need to be.
You're one of the unique guys that you just never got above your raising. You went out and had great achievement, went on to star at Indiana and had a great career there. But back to the family root, back to the small town roots. And you came from a small high school when you were in high school, of course, led the state in scoring as a junior. But a lot of people get drawn away. What brought you back to that smaller town life?
Yeah, for us it was just opportunity. We were kind of live on the west side of Indy in the Avon area, and I was helping with Avon basketball a little bit there. And as our kids got a little bit older, I was in a job that was causing me to travel 3-4 days out of the week, and I was kind of missing some stuff. And my wife was still working full time, and we were just at a point where we were looking for any opportunity to kind of move back. And so I took a job with Edward Jones, and then she still works for Eli Lilly, but works from home quite a bit. And that was just kind of where we landed. And it was a little nerve-wracking coming back to a small community after you kind of been in Bloomington and Avon and that. But I think once we did 10 years ago, we've kind of felt like it was definitely the place we needed to be.
And then, of course,
you work in the financial. You're still in the financial with Edward Jones, right?
Correct. Yep. Yeah, and that's what I told you. I said when you were texting me last night, with the stock market was a little volatile yesterday, so I figured I'd be on the phone quite a bit this morning and stuff. So I wanted to make sure I had some time for you.
Oh, I'm glad that didn't go crazy. Glad we didn't have a crash or anything like that. That would have that would screwed our day up, all of our days up. And it's funny you mentioned your wife worked for Eli Lilly. Did Steve Risley hire her? He's a good friend of ours on the show, Steve Risley.
So I know Riz real well. In fact, when I was kind of coming through the Pfizer pharmaceuticals and Lilly and all that, Risley was always one that I kind of relied on a little bit. But no, she's actually, if you can get this, she's a Purdue grad, so she kind of has more of the IT background and works on a lot of clinical trials and that type of stuff for Lilly, and has been there since 2001. So she's had a nice career there.
Awesome. Now, I understand. Are you still into coaching? Do I understand right that you're coaching maybe a middle school team?
I am. So I do mostly girls now. Obviously, my middle schooler is an 8th grader, so I will probably be with her at least one more year, and then kind of bow out and let her, move up to the high school and junior varsity ranks. And my youngest is a 5th grader, so I've got hopefully a couple more years with her if she continues to play. And they're both they both love the game and are pretty talented at it, but my expectations are always pretty low until they prove me wrong. But it's fun to be on a court and teaching at that level with girls. You're really working on more fundamentals than you are anything, and that's what I really enjoy.
I was going to say, there's a lot of just people in general that prefer coaching girls for certain reasons, like that you're talking about, is working for a different aspect of the game because it's a different type. It's not a different game, obviously, but it's the work is done differently, and they get more enjoyments for whatever reason sometimes.
Yeah, and they're very cerebral. So I mean, when you tell them to do something, it's they do it exactly. If you tell a girl to go, sit on the block, she's probably going to go sit on the block. So you gotta elaborate a little bit more to kind of help them through the process. Whereas as boys are a little squirrelier and kind of doing their own thing. But yeah, I don't like the X's and O's part of the game quite as much as I do the defensive strategies and the fundamentals of the dribbling and passing and having your footwork correct and things like that. So that's what we spend a lot of time on, that, which we probably struggle in terms of running plays, but I figure that's what the high school coaches are for, to figure all that stuff out.
Now, you didn't play for anybody that may have instilled that stuff in you, did you?
Right. Yeah. It was definitely entrenched in our brains. And, if you didn't have your footwork right on a jump shot, that chances are that jump shot wasn't going in. And, a lot of things in life are like that. You gotta get the foundation and the basics done before you can move on to the greatness that comes behind it.
Talking with former Hoosier baller Jared Odell. Jared, I have a lot of former players on, and the one thing that is just constant is when they talk about Coach Knight and his teaching was the strive for perfection of doing it right, getting it done, no matter how many times, do it right every time, and there's no deviation from that.
Absolutely, and I think I take that into a lot of different walks of life that I have, and sometimes it can be a little bit of a detriment to us guys like that because everything's not going to be perfect. But, when you were in a gym working with an assistant coach or with Coach Knight or whoever was in that gym with you, it had to be perfection or you didn't leave the gym until it was. And doesn't mean you have to hit all your shots, but if your form's right and your feet work is good, those things are going to come to play in a game. And the other thing that the coaching staff down there always worked on is practice game speed. And sometimes we try to go slow motion through some things, and then you get in a game and it speeds up on you, and it just doesn't go as well as what it does in practice.
Going back to your college days, of course, one of the last players to play for Coach Knight at Indiana on that team. First of all, what was it like playing for Coach Knight? What did you get out of it? What did you love about it and all that?
Yeah, there was definitely things I loved about it. There was a lot of things that you kind of hated about it, but you didn't go down there thinking that it was going to be any different for you for any circumstance, and you knew exactly what he expected of you. at least with myself, when he recruited me, it was, this is what we expect. And if you do these things, then there's potentially some minutes for you and those types of things. There was no promises or, in terms of my development, it was all up to me. And, I can remember sitting in my truck after the first open gym I went to down there playing with some of the upperclassmen, and I was miserable because I thought there's no way I'm ever going to be able to play at this level. And that forces you either go in a shell or you decide to work a little harder and get back in the weight room and work on the fundamentals. And that was kind of the approach I took, and I didn't have any alternative to anything in my career, and I knew I wanted to play 4 years at IU, and if I did those things, I would hopefully get some minutes to be able to play well.
One thing, Coach Knight, he was certainly known for taking guys that could score a lot of points, like Jared Odell, who led the state of Indiana in scoring as a junior, nearly 30 points a game. But he was classic for taking guys and putting them in a role and letting them be that function on that team, which ultimately it sure made a lot of great teams.
Absolutely, and I think that's a little bit of the downfall of kind of our generations now that are coming up through junior high and high school is, most of those kids that go to big-time universities to play basketball are the best player on their team in high school, and if they don't have that mindset of being able to step back a little bit and take a lesser role, that's why I think we see so many guys transferring and moving around the college ranks these days. And I knew coming the people that I played against in high school, it wasn't easy to score, but it was definitely easier to score than if I was playing in Bloomington or Indianapolis or places like that. So I knew I had the talent to be a scorer, but I also had some reality to know that when I got to IU, there was a pretty good chance that I was going to bulk up and be more of a power forward and a defensive stopper and rebounder, and some points would come along with it, but that wasn't going to be my primary focus.
And I'll normally ask people who the character on their team was. I don't have to because I know that you had Dane Fife on there. I know you had Kirk Haston on there. So I don't really even have to ask that question. But Kirk was just on with us. He's on with us quite often, but the other day. But he is one of the most entertaining guys, man. He's just a funny dude.
Yeah, he is, and one of the wittiest guys that you'd ever meet in terms of his sarcasm and how he gets his point across. And Kirk and I had some very good battles, but we also had a very good friendship. And with throw Dane in the mix, and then we had guys like Newton and Moye and guys that had their own different personalities. And we just, especially that senior year, but the junior year when Kirk was still there, we had just a great mix of guys that enjoyed hanging out, and we didn't have any conflicts, and guys understood their roles, and it's amazing when you get all those things going in the same direction. That's when you have some true success as a program.
Then, of course, Coach Knight gets fired, and you guys are having to deal with that. How difficult was that for you guys to actually deal with? Because that is just – you talk about turmoil. This is not just a coach getting fired. This was Indiana. This was Bob Knight. This was national news. So I can't imagine how difficult it was for you guys as 19-year-old kids to be going through that stuff.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If we were 25 and 30-year-old adults, it definitely would have been hard, but you would have been able to mature through it and adapt through it. But I think as 19, 20-year-old kids, it was challenging to us. Number one, of just knowing what our future looked like and whether who was going to be the coach and what our program was going to be and who was going to stay or leave. But not only that, but every day. It seemed like we had so many media obligations that, quite frankly, none of us were that mature for. And I think we all did a nice job of getting through those, but it wasn't the highlight of our day. And so the media surrounding that usually came with Coach Knight and the IU program is where we all just felt like you had to mature pretty quick to be able to get through it. And we came together as a team pretty well and had a lot of talks together and just eating some pizza and having a Coke and making sure that everybody was still on the same page. And again, that led to what I feel like was our success the next couple of years of just making sure we were together as a team.
And that was an incredible success. Before I get to that, how close was there to actually being a revolt, a player walkout?
I don't know if we were all that close in terms of physically, filling out transfer paperwork and that type of stuff. But I do know guys were irritated enough and probably scared enough to not know, the difference between the emotions versus the rational thinking. And, myself, I spent a lot of time talking to my parents and going through some things. And, my thought process was I committed to play for Indiana University, and when you do sign your letter of intent and your scholarship, it says Indiana University on there. It didn't say anything about Coach Knight, and my loyalty was with Coach Knight, but I also understood that Indiana University was the place where I felt like for my future of, whether it's jobs or alumni or whatever it might be, I thought that was going to give me the best bang for my buck in terms of what the future looked like. So me personally, I don't think that walking out was ever really on the table, but man, it would have been hard if 3 or 4 or 6 other guys left and I'm kind of standing there holding the bag, kind of what, IU has had to gone through in the last decade or so when some of these coaches come in.
And then 2 years later, of course, you guys make one of the most improbable championship game runs maybe ever. I was fortunate to be at that Final Four and more importantly at the games in Lexington, which gave myself a headache. I'll never forget that. But that run, I mean, you guys, from the outside, a lot of people looked at that as a ragtag unit of guys, but it really wasn't. I mean, you've got yourself who, like I said, you led the state of Indiana in scoring as a junior. You got Tom Coverdale, who was just like an assassin. You got Dane Fife, who had that coach's mentality. A.J. Moye, just a stupendous athlete. You guys had a great group, but it still was a very improbable run.
It was, and things just had to fall in line at the right time, and the matchups had to be good. And, that's what that NCAA tournament is. I mean, we've seen so many teams over the years that are super, super talented that don't make it out of the second or third round. And that comes down to, number one, again, the matchups, and number two, how well that team is gelling and meshing and playing during that stretch run. Because it's basically 3 weeks out of the year where you've got to play it at top notch. And, we did that. We kind of got our bracket draw, and all of a sudden you look a couple rounds ahead and you immediately start looking at potentially playing Duke. And for us, most of us guys sitting in that room, we had never been to the Sweet 16. So we kind of put that on the back burner and thought, man, let's not be one of those classes that comes through here and doesn't at least make a Sweet 16. So once you kind of accomplish that, you regroup, you come back to campus for 3 or 4 days, work on the next matchup, and just kind of keep trugging along. And fortunately for us, the matchups were perfect, and we shot the ball really well during that 3-week stretch, with the exception of the Maryland game. And by shooting that ball well, man, that can carry you out of a lot of difficult circumstance.
Yeah, and I think that the Indiana team of today has seen that for the last couple of years, and the opposite, not shooting that ball well, can lead to a lot of problems, as it has here lately. But
sure.
That Duke game, man, that's just one of the greatest games I've been able to attend personally, period. It was just such an incredible game. Indiana down 17, come back, and just the whole theatrics with the whole thing. Dane at the end, Jason Williams, it was just unbelievable. Here they are, the number one defending national champion, and you guys, you have gone through all you've gone through. Can you imagine being at that point?
No, absolutely not. And it was kind of surreal when we were going through it, and then when it was kind of over, one of my greatest memories of that game, we were kind of sitting on the bus waiting to get back to the hotel to kind of get some dinner and things like that. And Coach Krzyzewski came on our bus and kind of walked up and down the aisle and didn't shake all our hands, but just kind of looked at all of us and congratulated us and told us how impressed he was with us. And, for a coach that was expected to win the national championship that year, to have the pride to still step on our bus and tell us that was my best memory of that game. And, again, so many things just came together at the right time. And Moye had that big block on Boozer, and I had kind of a good stretch at the beginning of the second half where Coverdale was able to get the ball to me in some open positions. And by doing that, we just got that momentum back. And once we got the tide turned, I think things just fell in our favor.
There's the what if thing always people talk about. If Kirk Haston had still been there, what do you think differences that would have made for in that Final Four run, a game against Maryland?
Yeah, so I think in that particular instance, I think Kirk would have helped us a lot just from a size standpoint and his shooting ability. Me personally, I'm very thankful that Kirk went to the NBA a year early because that opened the door for me to have a lot of playing time my senior year. But, we would have been a completely different team. It's hard to go back and look at the what if, but Kirk was an amazing player and a super talent and a guy that is very valued at that program. And there again, I think there's probably, I think if we would have got to that Maryland game, with maybe a different coach, maybe being Coach Knight, we might have played that game better, but that's such a what if. We might never got there with Coach Knight, and Coach Davis did a great job of getting us there. So those what ifs, I try not to go back and look at them too much because that game still kind of makes my stomach hurt, and to be that close to the ultimate prize and not get it done, it's still, however many years it is removed, it still kind of haunts you a little bit every day.
Yeah, I can imagine. Again, that was just such an incredible run, and actually now, as it turns out, that's the last great run for Indiana basketball to this date.
It is, and I think the program has made some strides. I think we're moving in the right direction. I think Coach Crean Coach Crean did a few things to kind of get us there, and now Coach Miller, I think, is kind of in my opinion, I think a guy that can take us back to those types of runs. And college basketball is just so different these days. It's not your 3 and 4 year players that are playing in those tournaments. It's the one and dones and the 2 and outs and those guys. So I just think it's a much more competitive landscape than what it used to be without you used to have the higher ups of the Carolinas and Kentuckys and Dukes and IUs, and that's where all the major players went. Nowadays, even these small schools, heck, my office is in Marion, Indiana, and Indiana Wesleyan's down the road with a coach named Greg Tonigal that played at Valparaiso, and he gets amazing recruits at a small little NAIA school like Indiana Wesleyan. So, and they're guys that can play at that D1 level, but they want to come to a smaller school and have a chance at a championship. And so I think the landscape's just a little different, but from my standpoint, I can't wait to see IU making some runs again and getting everybody back to kind of the promised land where we're used to be.
Well, Jared, I cannot thank you enough for coming on today. And if IU fans listening, you need some financial advice, he's an Edward Jones man up in Marion, so make sure you find him. But, Jared, I cannot thank you enough, man. I greatly appreciate it. Love to have you back on again later on when the season gets close.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks for reaching out to me, and anytime you need me, let me know.
Jared Odell, thank you so much, man. Jared Odell, former Hoosier baller, a great one, and we're so fortunate to have him on the program today. Hey, we've got more coming up here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, back with more in the end of Sports Beat right after this.
World, I'm bound to ramble. I had no friends to help me now. He has no friends to help me now.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for a post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just above 659 South End Avenue in Sellersburg. 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry. 812-246-3368.
Now that winter has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moyer.
This is Dan Duckett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Hi, this is AJ Moyer, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
And welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you, as always, here on this Wednesday, August 7th. Some news from the NCAA as they released new criteria for agents who want to represent either college players who are wanting to test the waters in the NBA. Of course, the one and done rule is going to change as well. Here shortly, they're going to allow kids to go directly from high school into the NBA. But on Monday, the NCAA issued a memo to agents outlining new certification requirements to represent players testing the NBA draft waters. In the memo obtained by ESPN, the NCAA outlined new criteria for agents, including a bachelor's degree, National Basketball Players Association certification for at least 3 consecutive years, professional liability insurance, and completion of an in-person exam taken at the NCAA office up in Indianapolis in early November. The bachelor's degree requirement has led some to refer it to as the Rich Paul rule. Paul represents LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Ben Simmons, Draymond Green, among others. He recently brought his Clutch Sports Group under the United Talent Agency umbrella, began working with James a couple of years after high school, and did not graduate from college. A lot of people think that this rule is directed directly at him. According to the new NCAA criteria, Paul will not be able to represent underclassmen testing the NBA draft waters. LeBron James sent out some texts after that responding. I guess it did not interrupt his Taco Tuesday, but he sent some text out exhibiting his displeasure with that decision. But it is what it is, but we'll see how that works out. Also, the Illini pick up an unusual commitment. Austin Hutcherson was a Division III player in Connecticut. After his sophomore year, he went and worked out with a bunch of guys, some pros. He's trying to get better, guys like Noah Vonleh, among others. But he made some YouTube videos, and coaches started seeing these, and the guys he's playing with said, man, you need to go now. He was wanting to move up to Division I after another year at the Division III school up in Connecticut. But they said, dude, you got to go. And then all of a sudden, after these videos get out, he starts getting offers from Notre Dame, Creighton, and Illinois. And then he's signed with Brad Underwood in Illinois. And Illinois keeps picking up some good recruits, man. You're going to have to watch out for those guys. Underwood is doing a good job over there.
So we'll see how that works out there in the Big Ten season. Also, USC lands the number 1 recruit in the country, Evan Mobley, a 7-footer. His dad is an assistant coach at USC as of March of last year, which 2 months after his hire there, a 5-star named Isaiah Mobley committed to the USC Trojans. Of course, that's another son of the coach there. But nice little family, keeping it in the family there out at UCLA, but a couple of big-time commitments for the Trojans. Getting back to some Indiana news, Indiana football, the Hoosiers obviously are off and running at fall camp. Tom Allen talked on Monday about one player that they're waiting to get clearance. Freshman, defensive lineman, which is a great place, a place where Indiana can use all the help they can get defensively. The Hoosiers are looking to improve on their nearly 30 points per game that they allowed last year. Unfortunately, one freshman that we're talking about, defensive lineman, is still awaiting clearance. He remains absent from Indiana's camp, at least the last time that we were there 2 days ago at practice. Antoine Whitner had not practiced and was not cleared. Don't know if that's changed, but on Monday, Kevin Brockway, who's on with us all the time from CNHI, asked Coach Allen about him, and Tom Allen said he's not cleared yet, but there was a meeting Monday, and he made a big deal of it. That was an important meeting, and hoped that they could get him on the field within the next few days. As Indiana now today will be, I think this is their 6th practice. This should be the 2nd day in full pads, as that began yesterday. We weren't there for that practice. We're able to go like 3 days a week, and then the other couple of other practices are closed. But I'll find out today when we go out there if he's been cleared yet, or how that went, or where that situation is. Of course, Indiana on the defensive side looking to take a step up as they kind of dropped back a little bit last year. Coach Allen has deferred the defensive coordinator position to Kane Womack, and so he can handle the head coaching duties more efficiently, in his words. And but having any and all players available obviously is something that Indiana can definitely use, as they're looking to make some noise this year, and lots being expected of them for a number of reasons. They've got a lot of talent. We talk about it on here on the show all the time. Coaches talk about it, and there's no doubt that they have the talent. They've got the new offensive coordinator with Kalen DeBoer, so things are expected. It's got to translate to wins. I'm not saying that Indiana's got to go out and win 9 games, of course not, but they've got to get to a bowl game and show that progress that we all see and that we all think is there. But it's got to translate to the field, or the fans are just not going to be happy, with obvious reasons. You got to win, man. You got to win. But hopefully they can get Antoine playing and help that defense out to shore it up, because the defensive line is probably the weakest area on the defense. The same with the offense. It's the lines are not, I'm not going to say question marks, but there's some questions there, of course, and we'll certainly see how that plays out as the season goes along. Depth, obviously a very important factor in all of these positions, and of course having all the players certainly increases your depth without a doubt. Whitner was listed as a 3-star athlete out of Florida on the 247 Sports Composite rankings as a recruit. So lots expected from him. I mean, he's a guy that they think can play this year. If he's allowed to play, he's someone that can definitely see minutes and help them out on that defensive line. And today's no different than any other day. The big question, obviously, is going to be the quarterback position early in camp, so nothing expected to come out of it just yet. But there's going to be questions every day on who's doing what, especially the days where we're not there, then we can't see them. When we're there, obviously, you can see who's doing what. And now that they're in pads, how's that going to change things? That they're hitting full on now. So I'm very interested and looking forward to seeing practice today to see how hitting full bores has changed things, and see who performs well. But the other day when we met with Coach Allen, here's what he had to say about the quarterback situation.
I think that Peyton showed great, poise there at the end, and just kind of manufacturing that drive to get down the field in 2 minutes. I thought Michael made some good throws. I thought Jack made some good throws, as well. And so I just think, Jack's the youngest of the group in regards to the system and in terms of just being here and time here and being comfortable here, and but did some good things today. We did blitz periods, so having them recognize the protection and how to get it set and adjusted. So Peyton probably has the the upper hand on that because of his experience. But I think the two other guys, Michael and Jack, have grown in that area. So we're going to keep emphasizing that. But each one of them had some good things. We've got to protect football all the time. We emphasize takeaways to a large, over the top degree here defensively, and so we really ball hawk them a lot. So we got some takeaways. I thought that Sean Riggins had a big pick that there in the team period that really kind of changed momentum a little bit for the defense. So, those are, I think each one of the guys have had some of those. But overall, we protected the ball pretty well. The defense is swarming.
Coach Tom Allen talking about the quarterback situation, and he talked about that pick. He mentioned that was thrown by Peyton Ramsey over the middle. So it's something that stands out. He threw 13 interceptions last year, which when you're throwing the ball a lot, and that's not necessarily a high number, but the touchdown to interception ratio, 19-13, not quite as nice as you'd like to see. But it's going to be interesting, like I said, now that they're in full pads, to see how things change. And I don't think it's really going to take that long to see somebody separate themselves now that they're in full pads. I think the next week and a half, we should be able to get an indication on who's stepping up. Maybe not. We'll find out. They've not given any indication other than maybe a week before that first game of announcing whoever's become the starter. And I talked about this before on the BTN show when they were in. One of the things that afterwards I heard former Coach Jerry DiNardo talk about, that he would like to see the quarterback named as soon as possible so that quarterback can take as many snaps with the number one team as possible. And it makes sense, but you can't do that to just rush it because they've got to have the right guy. And I don't know if that's going to be Peyton Ramsey. I don't know if it's going to be Jack Tuttle or even Michael Penix maybe. I don't know who that's going to be. But obviously Peyton Ramsey does have the leg up, as Coach Allen said there. He's got the most experience with the team. He's got the most experience as a college quarterback. He's got a lot of starts under his belt. He's got 2 years of playing in-game situations under his belt. So he's got a lot of experience in that regard, but he also has some flaws. The reason that they're having this battle to begin with is because he showed an inability to get the team downfield last year by stretching the defense. Also, they were not very good in the red zone. They scored a lot more field goals than they did touchdowns. And, I was watching a replay of the Penn State game the other night from 2013, and it was driving me insane because there were 3 times they were in the red zone and didn't score. And I'm sitting there just counting the points left on the board, and that was a constant problem for this team last year. Leaving points off the board, on the field, not scoring touchdowns instead of a field, or not getting a touchdown, but kicking field goals instead. Those 4 points each time, that adds up. You do that 2-3 times in a game, man, there's a winning difference, especially when you look at Indiana having 3 games that they lost by a touchdown or less. So getting into the end zone with a touchdown is going to be critical for them this year if they're going to have that improved success, if they're going to knock off somebody that they're not supposed to knock off, if they're going to find that upset that they've been looking for, that signature win under Tom Allen. They're going to have to get into the end zone. And who is that quarterback that's going to get them there? That's the big question that's got to be answered, and it's going to take a while for that to ferret itself out. But like I said, I don't think it's going to be that long now that they're in full pads. I think that once they really start running the offense in this situation, it's that guy's going to step up here at some point. But no indication on who that is right now. Like I said, I've been doing my little deal with the 10-point must system, and after 2 practices that I got to see, that leaves Jack Tuttle at the top with 19 points. I think he won the second day that I saw. The first day, he finished second. Peyton Ramsey had the best overall day, but then I think Peyton Ramsey didn't have the best day. He had the least productive day. A couple of days ago when we were there, he threw that pick in there. He did lead the team on a 2-minute drive to score a field goal, but again, not getting into the end zone. So that's just going to be critical for this team, getting into the end zone. That's been the difference, not just last year, but for a couple of years, not getting in the end zone. That's the difference between winning and losing a lot of these games, especially these Big Ten games that are tough, up to Michigan State year before last, or they just could not get into the end zone, and it's got to happen, and it's a maturation process, and hopefully with the new offensive coordinator Kalen DeBoer and this
it's not a complete new offense. I keep saying new offense, but we got to be careful with that because it's not really that new. It's just some changes and some wrinkles in terminology. I'm sure that there will probably be some new plays maybe added, but the offense is going to look kind of similar. I think it's just going to be more. It's just going to be more purposeful. That's about as good as words I can come up for it. But we'll look forward to that. I'm looking forward to getting out to practice today. But we got a lot coming up here on the program today. What a great day. Matt Weaver from Peaks.com is going to join us. We'll talk a little bit more about all this. Also, the potential recruitment coming for Indiana. It's a big one. If he comes, it's between Indiana and Iowa, but I think Indiana's in the driver's seat. We'll certainly find out. Potential basketball player with this guy as well. So we'll see that. But also on the show today, man, I'm looking forward to this. Former Hoosier basketball player James Blackmon Jr. recently signed with a new team over in Italy. He'll be leaving for across the sea here not too long, in a few days as a matter of fact. But we've got him here today on Indiana Sports Beat. We appreciate having you along with us as well. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett. Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is former Indiana basketball player Greg Green. Keep up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all
welcome to Indiana Sports Beat, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle here with you. As always, Jake's at the wheel, keeping us on the track. Lots to get to today, plenty. Big show on the program today. Matt Weaver from Peaks.com. We're going to talk some football. We got plenty to talk about. Big-time guest, James Blackmon Jr. He's headed to Italy, but he's here first. He's on the program today. Looking forward to talking to JB. He's at the back of the hour. Matt Weaver will be up next segment. The TBT underway last night. How about a $2 million free throw? Can you imagine? You always see these games during the year. Guys at the free throw line, pressure situations. Does it get any more pressure situation than a $2 million free throw? Well, that's what it came down to last night in the TBT championship game. The final match, the group from Ohio State alumni and Marquette alumni, and the Buckeyes come away with it. William Buford was the guy that stepped to the line with 2 free throws. He hit the first one, and of course, then he hit the $2 million free throw with the Elam ending. First team that reached 66 last night was the winner. It's a winner-take-all, too. Second place, as well as they played, nada. You get nothing. The Buckeyes, though, taking home the $2 million prize. But like I said, can you imagine standing there at the free throw line, knowing that this free throw is worth $2 million? That's like having an 8-foot putt, and you got to hit this putt for $2 million. That's a little bit of pressure, but it was a good game, man. It was tight, close. The Buckeyes group, they kind of got away there toward the end. There was a turnover, and it's just all it took, and the game turned right then. But $2 million free throw, how about that? The NCAA, I talked about this earlier. They issued the new criteria for agents, including one of those. The biggest thing that you're hearing a little stuff about is the fact that they have to have a bachelor's degree, and it seems to be kind of pointed at one guy, Rich Paul, who is LeBron James' agent. He does not have, did not graduate from college, so LeBron, of course, is whining about that. But we'll see how that goes. Who cares? But just something else to talk about, right? And, of course, back on the Indiana side, everybody awaiting the decision by Anthony Leal that is coming this Friday. The Bloomington South senior-to-be will make his announcement sometime Friday evening. He's not going to do anything big. It's not going to be a press conference, not going to be a party, not going to be all this and that. He's simply just going to make it via social media, whether it's Twitter or Instagram. I'm not sure how he's going to do that. Trey Galloway, he did his on Instagram. He doesn't even have a Twitter account. But we'll see how that comes out. But that'll be Friday evening. So looking forward to that. The crystal ball, of course, is pointing towards Indiana. I think that Indiana is in a pretty good position on this. Stanford is a great offer. Don't get me wrong. It is as good a place as you can go. But to me, there's no doubt, I think, that he's going to end up playing for the Hoosiers. The draw to play for the hometown team is too much. In the end, I think that there's other things. I mean, his parents is going to want to watch him play, and that's going to be awfully difficult if he is on the other side of the country playing 80% of his games. So just a number of things that I think that is leading that this is going to go Indiana's way, but there's never any guarantees, and it's he's got to make the decision that he thinks is best for him, and we'll find out on a Friday evening. But I think that Hoosier fans should probably be expecting good news. I don't want it to go the other way and be disappointed, but I think that things are going to be fine. But you never know. We'll find out. But yeah, it's all coming to a head on Friday. But then that's part of the equation. Now you've got 2 other scholarships open. Who's going to fill those other 2 scholarships? Does this help get somebody else in the fold? Caleb Love has just cut his list to 6. Indiana's on that list. You got several other guys that Indiana's, Matt Cross, the kid out of Connecticut, but he was set to, I think, make his decision, but then he ended up taking a visit to Texas A&M and someplace else, I forget. But not sure when that'll come. It may be another week or so now that
He had those visits, and then, of course, Leal making his commitment on this Friday, like I said. So we'll see how that goes. But we'll see how that spurs, if it helps anybody else along, and then does he, in turn, help recruit guys? I mean, Indiana's biggest recruiter here of late has been Trace Jackson Davis. Man, he's been all over these guys, saying, hey, you know where you need to go, you know what you need to do. And so he's been a great recruiter. As a matter of fact, he may be the best recruiter for right now, because Indiana's down a recruiter. They're down an assistant coach. That's another thing that we're waiting to get that position filled, to see who that's going to be. Obviously, I've talked about this several times. Indiana's in not that big of a hurry, because the recruiting is pretty much in place for this year. Not all the recruits, obviously, not all the commitments, but the guys that are going to be making those commitments, those relationships are established. So this is more about next year and what they can get done. But then there's a question about next year. That 2021 class, I keep talking about that. If Indiana fills all four scholarships that they have currently, that will leave 3 on the board for next year, unless something changes via transfer, or I keep mentioning the fact that Jerome Hunter, we don't know what his status is going to be. Is he going to be able to make it back? If not, there's another scholarship that could end up coming open. But it's just a lot of stuff that's up in the air. But time will tell. It's as simple as that. Anthony Leal is going to make his decision on Friday. More decisions will come after that. And that'll kind of play itself out. I don't think that Indiana's going to turn down a commitment from any of the guys that obviously they've offered to once they get to 3 scholarships. They're not going to hold it just to hold it. But if they don't get the commitment from one of the guys that they're really after, I think that they might hold it till next year. You've got a ton of guys in that 2021 class, and I mean a ton of talent. And it's all right in Indiana, so you don't have to go very far. Trey Kaufman, he just got an offer from the University of Louisville, Coach Chris Mack, who is right across the river from Silver Creek, which is down in southern Indiana, just out in Clark County, which is out in Sellersburg, which is down near Clarksville, Jeffersonville, that area just north of there a little bit, but very close to Louisville. Louisville has also offered Christian Lander, so some crossover going on there between Indiana and Louisville in some of these recruits. But a lot of recruits are making commitments here of late. USC just landed the number 1 recruit in the country, Evan Mobley, a 7-footer. His dad's an assistant coach with USC. His brother is a 5-star recruit that committed last year, 2 months after his dad took the job in March. So USC lands great there. Illinois picked up an unusual commitment. Austin Hutchinson was a Division III player in Connecticut last year as a sophomore. He was wanting to build his game up, play another year at Wesleyan in Connecticut, a Division III school, and then try to get onto a Division I school. But the guy said, man, you got to go now. He was playing with guys like Noah Vonleh, and then he started getting calls after putting clips of his game on YouTube. And it caught the attention of the guys he needed to. Notre Dame, Creighton, Illinois offered him. He signs with Illinois. Brad Underwood, man, he's piling up some recruits over there, so you better watch what he's got going on here in the Big Ten. Rick Barnes in Tennessee just signed the number 1 recruit in the state of Tennessee. So the recruits are falling. They're starting to make commitments as we get closer to the school year starting. School's about to start in a lot of places. A lot of these guys want to get that stuff out of the way before they get to school and get it over with. But we'll certainly see. No doubt about that. But the first coming up, Anthony Leal on Friday between Indiana and Stanford. We'll see how that goes. I think, like I said, Indiana should be in good shape. But we'll find out. Hey, man, we got a lot coming up on the show today, like I said. On the program, Matt Weaver from Peegs.com. He's going to join me next. But after that, James Blackmon Jr., great ball player from Marion. One of the great families in Indiana basketball history, the state of Indiana. He's got another brother on the team right now, and another one that could be a future brother. We'll talk about all that and more. Here on Indiana Sports Beat, we're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, back with more right after this.
Well, every dollar I get, you know, blackjack takes it away from me.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett. Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Wednesday. We've reached the midpoint of the week, and we're joined by one of our absolute favorites, our football guru, Matt Weaver from Peegs.com. Matthew, how are you, brother?
I'm doing okay. How are you guys doing?
Good. We're early into football, but the cracking and the popping has started now as today being Wednesday. I think this is day 2 of full pads in practice, right?
I think so. Monday might have been the first day, but they're definitely getting into it. And we were both there on Monday, and along with Big Ten Network, and it's the first couple of days are exciting, but it's a lot better when they start putting pads on and start looking more like real football.
Yeah, not only that, the competition really starts to heat up, and not just the quarterback position, every position. I mean, there's some other jobs that the guys are going to be trying to steal from other guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's, you kind of know who your top receivers are, but there's some spots there. I mean, Ty Freifogel, I think, is pushing to be in the starting lineup. I think everybody kind of thought it'd be Donovan Hale and Nick Westbrook and Wap, and it may very well be, but Ty Freifogel is a guy that's had a pretty good season last year. Came on as the year went along, and he's pushing. And then at tight end, you got Peyton Hendershot, Matt Bjorson are both in there competing, and The O-line seems fairly set, and I think Caleb Jones is probably the starter at right tackle. But if there's any kind of slip there, then there could be that could be a job that opens up. And then defense, they're going to rotate a lot of guys. But you can almost pick any position outside of maybe like Jerome Johnson and maybe one or two other guys. That it's pretty much open competition across the board. And like I said, at defense, I don't really look as much at the depth chart or the starting lineup just because they're going to play, multiple guys in almost every spot. So, to me, it's more about finding that top 18 or 20 guys on defense than it is really the starting 11.
Yeah, one of the things that Indiana has not been able to do in the past is to play that many guys because the depth wasn't there. But as the depth gets better, you're able to do this, which allows you to go deeper into the fourth quarter, not run out of gas. I mean, I think it was Coach DeBoer who taught, or maybe it was Kane Womack, but talk about reducing the number of plays the guys play so they can be fresh at the end of the game, which has kind of been a nemesis for Indiana.
Yeah, and to me, it's more about who do you play? Who does the coach put out there late in the fourth quarter when it's maybe Indiana's up by a field goal or a couple points and they need to stop. They need to make a stop and to win the game or something like that. So and if you could play, I know a few years ago Coach Allen talked about T. Gray Scales and Chris Covington were playing 70, 80 snaps. And by the fourth quarter, they were, they were in great shape, but anybody's going to be gassed by that time. And then by the end of the season, you're really gassed. So, if the guys that you want to be playing in the fourth quarter at the end of the game when it's on the line, if you can keep them at half those snaps, 40 snaps, 45 snaps, they're going to be way better than that at the end of that fourth quarter, late in that fourth quarter, than they would be if they had to play 20, 30 more snaps. So it really helps. And the biggest thing is, it's one thing to have depth. Is it quality depth? And I think that's where they're getting. When you put in the guys that come in behind the starters, is there any kind of drop off? And I think they're getting to the point where there's really not a big difference between whatever units out there or whatever guys out there. They all, they're all pretty talented, and they all should be able to play at about the same level.
You mentioned the BTN was here yesterday or the other day, and as they kicked off their 14-city tour in Bloomington for their first stop, and so yesterday or the day before yesterday, they're replaying that show, and then they played a lot of IU football games all night long. I would wake up and IU Purdue would be on, IU Penn State, that 2013 game which they won big, which I was like, wow, they need some more of that. But that was a fun game to watch, man.
Yeah, it is. It's fun to kind of, remember those games and think about what, where you're at or a lot of those games I was, obviously the more recent ones I was covering, but yeah, it's fun. It was definitely fun to see some of those games. I know they played the Maryland game from last year. And I think the Michigan State game from a few years ago, the overtime game where Griffin Oaks hit the overtime field goal after missing. I think he missed one. There was a penalty, but it's fun to see those. They just need to. You hope to make quite a bit more of those, so you don't have to go back maybe 6-7 years to get a game. You can go back. You can have a couple from maybe this year as soon as you play them.
Absolutely. And then also with the BTN being in town, the crew was with them, the studio crew. One of those was former Indiana coach Jerry DiNardo. And one of the things afterwards, they were together at the end of the day, and they did a piece afterwards talking about what they had saw and they, being with Indiana throughout the day. And one of the things that he talked about was he would much rather have his quarterback named now so that guy can get the number one snaps leading into the first game instead of waiting to that last game. But that's not the luxury I think that Indiana has right now, and it's going to take a minute to get that quarterback race figured out because it's truly a three-man race. No matter if Peyton Ramsey's incumbent or otherwise, it's still, I think that it's completely open to the coaches.
Yeah, and for me, I see his point. To me, that would be a bigger deal if you had a lot of younger guys at skill positions. Guys that you were trying to get up to speed and try to develop. But, you've got Nick Westbrook, you've got Donovan Hale, you've got, Walt Fillier, Ty Freifogel. Those guys are all, seniors and juniors. Peyton Hendershot's a redshirt sophomore. Matt Bjorson played last year as a sophomore. Your O-line, except for one spot, has got quite a bit of game experience. So to me, it's more about I'm more concerned with getting it right than getting it done quick. Because I think, I think ideally – you'd like to have it done by, probably the end of next week. So then you have a couple weeks for that guy before the first game. And I think that Coach Allen has kind of hinted at that, a couple weeks where he's the guy, he's getting all the snaps. For the majority, not getting all the snaps. I mean, you're going to rotate your number 2 guy in some, but it's going to be, obviously, he's going to get the majority of those snaps once whoever the starter's named, he's going to get the lion's share. So, but I'm with a veteran offense, which they have, I mean, across the board, they've got experienced guys. It shouldn't take them long, and they've all, they've all played with these guys. Tuttle was here in the spring. Obviously, Penix was here in the spring and back in last year, all through the fall, and also last spring. And then obviously Peyton Ramsey's been here for a few years. So it's not like they got to learn a new guy or figure out how he throws the ball and all that kind of stuff. I mean, if it was Jack Tuttle, maybe the learning curve's a little bit steeper, but still, he's been here. If it's one of the other two, getting in that rhythm and that chemistry, I don't think will take very long.
And Kalen DeBoer, the new offensive coordinator, instituting a new offense, kind of. It's not really a lot of new offense, from what I'm understanding. It's more terminology. It's basically like taking a steak dinner and really putting some great sides with it, as opposed to changing it to pork chops or whatever. But he really seems to be enhancing what they already have.
Yeah, and really in today's football, I mean, a lot of these front offices, a lot of the stuff is the same. The concepts are the same, and what you're trying, the plays you run are pretty similar. I mean, not everybody does it exactly the same, but what the difference is what one person may call, one pass play or run play, another guy calls it the exact same thing. But he calls it something different. It's just the verbiage and. I think Peyton Ramsey talked about that at IU Media Day last week, where he said, they would say a word, I think it was like Oklahoma or something, and in his head it was something from the past, but in Coach DeBoer's offense, it's something different, and so that's the biggest thing. I mean, these guys, they're used to learning plays and all that. It's just getting the verbiage down, and it seems to me that they've done a pretty good job of doing that. I can tell you, like David Ellis, he's a freshman. You can tell he's swimming a little bit mentally, but he's out there making plays and in the rotation. But some of the young guys are probably kind of swimming and struggling a little bit with all the stuff that's being thrown at them. But there's only so many plays you can run. It really comes down to execution and play calling and going out there and getting it done.
And I know it's early. I think today will be I wrote it down, I think the 6th practice day of the fall camp for Indiana. So it's still early. This is like a 3-week process. But I'd love to get your opinion. I've been around them a lot, and I've seen the team, how they perform. But it seems like things are elevated a little bit this year. They're on it a little bit more. Everyone's on the same page, and it just seems there's a little bit more of a pep in the step at the IU football complex than in years past. But I'm just interested to see what your thoughts are.
Well, I mean, the first thing that jumped out at me on last Friday when we went to the first practices is just physically how this team looks. I mean, the job that Dave Ballou, the strength coach, and his staff have done is really it's noticeable. It's eye opening. I mean, it looks like a Big Ten team now. We'll find out how that translates to the field on Saturdays, but. And I think when you're in great shape, when you really, and I talked to Coach Blue a little bit at practice, he's really pleased with how hard they worked. And I mean, his quote to me was, these guys really busted their backsides to did what we wanted them to do. And when you do that, you're confident, when you're strong, when you're fast, when you're explosive. And that's what I've noticed. This looks like a confident group. I mean, I think they worked really hard. Well, I know they worked really hard in the off season, and now on the field, they're ready. They're chomping at the bit. They know they've come close the last couple of years, especially some of these seniors. And yesterday I noticed Monday I noticed Simon Stepniak coming off the field, and Coach Allen's talked about leadership and kind of holding guys accountable. And I don't know who he was talking to, but you see him kind of getting on guys, and that's what you want to say. I know Coy Crunk's the guy that's done that, and that's where the leadership has got to come from. Those older guys who, this is their last go around, and they want to go out on the right note, and they're going to take ownership, because coaches can try to lead as much as possible and hold guys accountable. At the end of the day, it's going to be up to the players. They've got to police themselves, and if they do that, a locker room that does that's usually a winning locker room.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because in watching the BTN deal the other night as well, Dave Rebson, the host, the studio host, he's talked about something very, very similar. He's talked about Nick Westbrook. They were coming off the field. They dropped a pass in the end zone that would have been a touchdown. And he told the guy, said, man, it's tough, but you got to get down and do your push-ups. So they're policing each other.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, when you're that age, it's hard to confront your peers. It's hard to confront your teammates. I mean, guys that you hang out with and you do stuff with. But you know what? It's let's be honest. This is a bottom line business. It's about wins and losses, and they've come close. And I'm not saying just because Nick Westbrook or Simon Stepniak or Coy Cronk calls out their teammate means they're going to win more games. But that's one of the steps you have to take. That's one of the things that teams have to do. They have to, like I said, police themselves and hold each other accountable, because when you realize it's bigger than you, and that's the LEO thing that Coach Allen, preaches all the time. When it's bigger than you, when you're not just playing for yourself, when you're playing for the guy next to you, and if you don't do your job, you're letting him down and everybody else. It really, I think it has more of a profound impact on how a guy prepares, how he works, and how seriously he takes things. And, that's what I've seen from this program, since the end of last year.
Yeah, and you mentioned Dr. Ray, or you didn't mention Dr. Ray, but Dr. Ray, in addition to Dave Ballou, that the program that they've been working on, they really got after that last year. But that's a 2-3 year process of getting these guys really into that and built up and bulked up. But this is that second year, so you're really starting to see the benefits from that.
Yeah, and to be quite honest, when they came in, Indiana was this program. Physically, from a physical standpoint, was pretty far behind. I mean, it just, and you don't want to call anybody out, but there's a reason when you make a change at positions. It just wasn't working for whatever reason of the previous strength staff, and so they had to basically kind of start from scratch, and they were starting from a lower point than I think they anticipated. I'm talking about Coach Ballou and his staff, and so that first year they had to do a lot of catch up. Now they're kind of more at the baseline of where you want to be, and so now. You can kind of, you don't have to, there's obviously a sense of urgency, but you're not so hurried and so rushed trying to get these players where they need to be. And I think it's showing. I mean, to me, it's, I see it in the O-linemen. I mean, obviously O-linemen's always been big, but guys are big, but I mean, they just look different. They look like a Big Ten O-line group, and hopefully they'll play that way. And the speed and the secondary at the skill positions is noticeable. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully it translates on Saturdays. We'll find out, soon enough.
Yeah, I think that there's no doubt that this offense should be something that it's not what people are accustomed to, especially after the last couple of years. I think the play calling obviously is going to be a little more imaginative, but the pieces they have in place, man, we've talked about it 1,000 times, but my gosh, they got some great guys in a lot of these positions. A lot of the receivers you've already mentioned, the running backs and all that, but you can do a lot of damage in the hands of someone like Kalen DeBoer. He can do a lot with that.
Yeah, and I think people will notice the difference. And listen, there's going to be times, there's going to be drives where the other team's better than him, or he makes some calls that he wishes he could go back. That's the nature of it. But I think you'll see a much more consistent, a much more aggressive, attacking. I mean, there's strengths on this team. They're going to play to your strengths, and one of the strengths is you got some big athletic receivers on the outside that can go up and get the ball. Now you find the guy who can get that ball to him down the field, and then you got some guys in the slot and WAP at Taylor, and I mentioned David Ellis and Ty Freifogel can move over there. Miles Marshall's another guy they really like. You've got a lot of weapons, and then the running backs. I mean, Samson James on Monday really stood out to me. I mean, they weren't obviously full tackling, but he just looks terrific. And I saw him in high school, and I know it's not full go quite yet, but I mean, a 1-2 punch of him and Stevie Scott. I mean, he's 220 pounds, and Stevie Scott's about the same, or a little bit bigger. I mean, that's a heck of a 1-2 punch. That Cole Getz is running like he did, a couple years ago or before the knee injury, and they've got Ivory Winters looks terrific at running back. I mean, there's a lot of talent at the skill positions of offense, and if the O-line, it's really going to come down to the O-line. We talk about the quarterback and all the other stuff, and that's important, but if the O-line can hold up and do their job, and this offense has a chance, I mean, you score 6 or 7 more points a game, and you're talking 7 or 8 wins.
Yeah, and I think the O-line, they know what they have behind them, so that's necessarily pressures on them, but they know that they are going to be leaned on heavily for how successful this offense can be.
Yeah, and I talked to Simon Stepniak and Coy Cronk at the IU Media Day last week about that, and they welcomed it. Simon, for one, I mean, he's like I said, I've seen him practice, and he just looks, he's got that look in his eye, and I know Coy's the same way, and Hunter Littlejohn, I'm sure, is the same. And these guys, they want to be the reason why. I even asked Simon at the IU Media Day about the Nelson for the Colts, who's got the hat run the damn ball, and he said he's actually got one of those hats. And he's like, well, we want that on us. We want the coaches to put on us to take the team down the field and get that winning drive or whether we're successful or not. So, the key with the O-line to me is, can you find depth, because guys can go down. It happens. Injuries are a part of the game. Can you find a 6, 7, 8 guy that can come in and play if you need him to play a game or two or a quarter or two or whatever it may be. But I like the starting unit a lot. I think they're going to be pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk a lot about the offense with good reason, because there's a lot to be optimistic about. But it's going to come down to this defense on whether they can pick it back up. They took a step back last year, but now with Kane Womack is in full charge of the defense. We'll see if that helps with Coach Allen not being so split like he had been. But this defense is going to also be leaned on heavily, because it doesn't matter. You can't win games like they did back in the Kevin Wilson era, try to win 53 or 50. That's just not going to work.
No, and it's not. And in the same token, obviously you can't win. It's going to be tough to win games, 2017 or 14-10. I mean, it's just the way football is. It's hard to do that. But it's funny that they did kind of take a step back in some categories. But then the one that's really important is the takeaways. They were tied for second in the conference in takeaways, and I think one of the better ones in the country. But yet they struggled, to stop the run. They really struggled, I think, in third down. Getting the opponent off the field on third downs and red zone defense. So, those are the big things. I mean, yardage is not a big deal. I mean, you can give up 450 yards a game, but if the team's getting in the red zone, they're kicking field goals. It doesn't matter. Now, it does matter obviously if they're getting yards and they get touchdowns, because that's a problem. But the big thing is getting them off the field on third downs, and and when they get in the red zone, hold them to field goals. And if you can do that, you give yourself a great chance to win. And then, the one area we haven't talked about, special teams, could be another big one. They had, that cost them some games the last couple of years, and you got to clean that up. If you can be really sound in that area, and I think that's one thing where Coach Allen not being a defensive coordinator and be able to focus more on special teams with his special teams background is really going to pay big dividends for that unit.
Matt, you got anything that's new, fresh on Pigs that fans need to know about?
I put up some practice highlights from Monday's practice. Just some stuff of we did shoot a little bit of video during a certain part of practice, during individual drills and stuff. So I got some stuff up from that, and we'll see what's at. Deontay Craig is some recruiting news. Deontay Craig is supposed to. The word is he's supposed to commit this week, and Indiana's right there with Iowa. I could go either way. It could be slightly leaning Indiana's way, and obviously he'd be a huge get. I mean, a really talented defensive end. He's from Culver. Everybody might know him, as playing basketball with Trey Galloway. They've been in the state the last 2 years, won it once, and finished runner-up last year. Probably are the favorites to go back again this year. But he's a terrific athlete, obviously a great football player, and he'll have the opportunity to play basketball in Indiana if he chooses to go to IU.
Yeah, that the invitation has already been extended for him to be a walk-on. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And I think it's something that's important to him. I don't think Iowa, it's the same deal. So I'm not saying that'll be the final, but it's definitely something in Indiana's favor. I don't know where it ranks on his list of priorities or, how important it is, but it's obviously something that he'd like to do. And I think with Indiana, that's definitely it's something that's, they said, hey, we're willing to give you the shot and see how it works out. And if that's the thing that swings in Indiana's favor, then that'd be great.
How big of a recruit would that be? I know Tom Allen has landed some great ones so far, but and we all know that this guy's a great player. But how important is this particular recruit?
Well, I mean, it's pretty big. He's an in-state guy, and obviously, as far as the in-state prospects go, you're kind of down to there's not a lot of guys left. I mean, this is, I always say the Midwest guys and around here, they're pretty much done by around middle of August, 1st of September, and that's pretty much how it's going to be. There may be a few guys out there, but these guys usually get their decisions made now. So after him, there's, if you don't get him, then you're going to start focusing somewhere else, probably down south. But I've seen him play live in basketball and football, and in football. He's long. I mean, he could play tight end in college too, in my opinion. He's a better defensive end prospect, but he could play tight end. He's long, athletic. He's going to get bigger. I think he's listed at around 6'4", 240 maybe. He's going to get bigger. He could possibly go into a 3-tech D tackle. I would probably try to leave him at DN because I think DNs like him are hard to find. I think it's a little bit easier maybe to find those 3-tech guys, but he no matter where he ends up, he's going to be an impact player. And he's a guy. I mean, Indiana's recruited really well. Coach Hagan has done a great job recruiting the defensive line the last couple of years, but he's a guy that he could come in and I'm not saying star, but he could definitely get your rotation and make a presence early on.
Matt Weaver, Peaks.com. Appreciate you, brother. See you at practice later today.
Okay. Take care, man.
Thank you very much. Matt Weaver from Peaks.com. Make sure you check him out there. He is the guru of IU football recruiting and reporting. Thanks you very much. Hey, we've got a lot more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back with more right after this.
Someone's gonna mistreat you. Now you're laughing, pretty baby.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is former Indiana basketball player Greg Green. Keep up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you as always. And, man, I love having special guests, and they don't get much more special than James Blackmon Jr. JB, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Just got back from vacation and getting ready for my new job. So everything's going well.
And by new job, I saw that you signed with it's a new team. You played in Italy last year, but it's a different team this year that you're going to.
Yeah, so last year my contract was through the EuroLeague team Milan, and I played on a smaller team in Italy. But this year I was able to, move up to a Euro Cup team. The name is Trento, so I'm excited for the opportunity at hand, and I'm ready to get out there.
I got to say, I have a lot of former players on the show that they're playing all over the place in Germany and just everywhere. There's so many leagues, it's crazy. But whether it's Jordan Hulls or Will Sheehy, those guys are all over the place. But I got to tell you, I kind of like where you're located better than most of those guys. You're in Italy at least. Not a bad place to be.
Yeah, I have nothing to complain about the living situation. And last year, being my first year going overseas, it really, opened my eyes. But, I'm very comfortable in Italy. So when I got a higher team and a bigger budget team in that same league, I was very happy.
And one of the things that I've talked to you about these guys, I know how tough it's tough enough doing that for a job because it's something you have to be obviously very serious about day in, day out. But you're doing it in another country, halfway around the world, removed from your friends, your family, and all the creature comforts of everybody sitting at home watching ESPN at night. You can't always do that kind of stuff.
Right. There's a lot of things that I had to adapt to. One was, I had to get a Fire Stick so I could watch, games and stuff like that out here. But, I got very comfortable with it as I was out there, and I'm nothing but excited right now. So it's going to be another great year.
What has been the biggest adjustment you've had to make in living, half your year in a foreign country?
Like you said, probably just being away from, family and friends. But for me, I'm very close with my family. When I was out there, I talked to my brothers every single day, and my family came to visit me, and the people that, really wanted to come out there came out there. So I had a good time, and I really felt like I didn't miss anything.
And when we talk about family, your family, I call it, is one of the first families of Indiana's basketball, the state of Indiana. I mean, it goes deep. It starts with your dad. It rolls on through to you, your brother. Now you got a little brother that's still coming up, man. You guys just have had some of the most prolific players in this state's history. It's got to be cool to know that every one of you guys have had a stamp on the great history of basketball in the state of Indiana.
Yeah, for sure. Just all the work that we put in together. Like after I get off the phone right now, I'm about to, get in a workout with my two younger brothers. So we put a lot of work in, and we're just happy for the opportunities that have been presented to us, and we just want to take advantage of them.
Obviously, a great run at Indiana for yourself, and then your brother VJ is back at Indiana this year, I believe. And then you've got a younger brother that's coming up through the ranks, going to be a sophomore, one of the highest scoring players in the state right now. He's going to be a pretty good one, isn't he, JB?
Yeah, for sure. Every day when I'm guarding him, and when we play one-on-one, he's getting better and better. So hopefully he'll be the best one out of all three of us, but for sure, the things he's going to do this year on the court are going to be amazing.
How do you compare him? If you can look back at yourself at that age, and I know that's hard to do because I can't look at myself realistically at a certain age, but if you could and then compare your brother, it seems like those that come behind us are able to use the things, the path that has been forged ahead of them and try to be better than we were, but it's not always the case. But how would you rate him?
Honestly, I would honestly put him ahead of me. I think that he's I was more of a 1 and a 2 guard, but he's for sure just a point guard, and he does it all, with the passing, the ball handling, and the shooting. He's very skilled, and a lot of people will start to, hear about him more and more as he starts to get older and get bigger.
I've seen a lot of these Indiana guys trying to recruit other guys. Are you going to try to help recruit your brother to IU or just let him forge his own path?
Yeah, I tell him about how it is to play there, but for me, it's just whatever's going to be the best situation for him and put him in the situation that he needs to be in for his career down the line.
And what's it like growing up in a family like what I just talked about, one of the first families of basketball in this state? I mean, your dad, you got him. He had his own success, and your brothers, they're successful, and as are you. But it's not like you can be the one guy and stand up and say, "Look at me." You're in amongst a bunch of guys there.
Yeah, for sure. We push each other. That's what it's like. Everything we do, we just try to make each other better. And, outside of basketball, there's a lot of other things we're interested in. And we just try to help each other grow as people, the best way we can.
And now as you're in the middle of your pro career over in Italy, is there any of the guys that you know in the league, or is it completely foreign to you?
No. Last year when I played over there, I was very surprised that, the big-time names that I heard of in college and also in the Big Ten, that I was playing against, and guys out there that they have that respect for each other because we all have that same goal, and there's definitely some big time players out there, and even like this year, one of my teammates, played in the Big Ten, so Aaron Kraft, so he'll be my point guard this year. So, it's a small world. Everyone's journey is different, and that's what I learned, and I'm just focused on mine and getting better every day.
I just saw the TBT wrapped up last night, and Mo Creek was playing in that with Ramey Abel, both a couple of guys that both also played at IU. But Mo Creek is one; he's playing overseas as well, and you can tell it is a business, man. He is working, and that's what it's like for people don't always understand. But it is a job for you guys. You're not just getting paid. It's like an 8-10 hour job a day sometimes. That effort that you have to put into that.
Yeah, for sure. There's huge efforts that you have to put in it. I think it depends on where you're at. My team last year and, the league I was in, we really didn't, practice that much. We just, worked on our bodies and got stronger and then, did a lot of walkthroughs before games. So for me, it was just, individual work and working with coaches, learning new things on how I can develop my game. So for me, I had a great time, and I'm excited about, the next team.
Talking with James Blackmon, former Hoosier, great basketball player, now playing in Italy. What's the biggest adjustment you had to make, James, from going from the college game to doing this professionally?
First off, I started off with Philadelphia. I think the biggest adjustment there is just the athletes and the amount of ground everyone covers on each possession. So I learned a lot from that. The NBA game, also played in the G League. And then overseas, I think it's just, it's very physical, I can say, in Italy. It's a lot different. There's no 3 seconds. So the defense is tough. I think like guys like Luka Doncic said, it's hard to score over there. So if you can get buckets in Europe and especially Italy, I think that it says a lot.
And obviously you're playing in a league in Italy now. Are there places that you want to go to, different leagues? Because there's so many leagues there. I don't even know all the different leagues and the different levels over there. It's amazing how many leagues there are, how many different countries have leagues, and how popular basketball has become worldwide.
I think that everyone who plays overseas, their goal is to make it to those teams that are in the Euro League competition or Euro Cup competition. So this year I have that opportunity. So I have an opportunity that a lot of guys overseas, that's what they're looking to go towards. And I just want to, make the best out of it and continue to try and make my dreams come true back over here.
What's been the funnest part about Italy for you, about living there?
Just how relaxed it is. The culture was so good to learn. The food was amazing, and just the setup I had last year. I was right there on the coast, on the beach, so everything. My experiences with Italy was great, and I'm excited to go to a new city, a little bit bigger city, and learn more about that as well. So it's been great so far.
And I'm sure it's a lot less media coverage like it is in the United States, because we're half crazy with the media coverage on that. But it's got to be nice for you not to have to talk to us as much as you did over here.
No, actually, that's something that I thought that I was getting rid of. But, after every game, I had a guy on my team that would translate whatever I was saying to the reporters over there. So, it's huge coverage over there. One thing I would say is I would like, people over here to get a chance to tune into stuff like that, because there's a lot of great players that are out there. So.
Well, we'll definitely be keeping track with you once you get over there. As a matter of fact, last year during the season, the great thing about the leagues over there is they're so far ahead of us time-wise that it works out great for doing the show. Mo Creek was always on, not Sheehy, but Jordan Halls. And I could call those guys during the day because it's during the day for them, and it works out perfect because of the time change. So we'll definitely be keeping track with you and follow up with you during the season, and look forward to doing that. When does your season start?
I think my season starts at the end of September. But I have to get out there for like the workouts and things like that and get acclimated with the new team.
And how long does a typical season last?
Last year I was there until May, but this year I'll probably be there a little bit longer because I'm for sure trying to make a long playoff run, and we'll see where that goes. So it'll probably be up until the middle of May for sure.
And you talk about having to get a Fire Stick to watch some games. How difficult is it for you to keep up with, say, college basketball, whether it's IU or just college basketball in general, or sports in general for that matter?
It wasn't difficult, because I'm still in contact with everyone here, and it felt like I was just in a different state or something like that, because I still talk to everyone the same amount as if I was here. So I was tuned into the IU games all year. The only difference was I would have to watch it probably at 12 at night sometimes because the games would be at 6 or something like that, and the time change is different.
And I know you've been able to make it back a couple times for some workouts and whatnot. And man, they could sure use your shooting right there. But what's it like when you come back now as a former player, as a guy who had success there, and you come back and there's a team full of guys that look up to you?
Yeah, it was great. Just when I went back to IU this time, it was just a lot of questions being asked about, how the NBA was and also how, the overseas game is. So it was good to go back there and be a part of something that I had a great deal of work with, and I had a good time. So.
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking, with your brother back on the team and with your younger brother just a couple years away, there could be a stretch of like 8 years that there was a Blackmon on the IU basketball roster.
That's funny. There could be, for sure.
So what do you think of the current Indiana team? What do you think of their prospects? I know you didn't play for Coach Miller. You left right at that time when he was coming in. But what have you seen from them, or what are your thoughts?
Really, whenever I'm back there, I think Coach Miller is a great coach, and he pushes those guys well. So I really haven't got a chance to see the players they've had this year like that. But I've heard a couple of the recruits they have, and with Coach Miller having them do the right things, I think that they'll for sure have a bigger year than they had last year.
We'll certainly hope so. And like I said, we're going to keep following you. So when we get done here, hang on for a sec. I want to make sure we got all the information so we can keep up with you. And where can the fans, for them to follow you, follow your team, what do they need to follow?
Either, you can follow my Instagram, which is just James Blackmon Jr., or so the team that I'm playing on I have I posted something, and you'll be able to see everything that they post as well.
Absolutely. All right, stay tuned with us. There will be after this. I'll make sure I get your contact information after we get done here. But that's going to wrap up today from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for Indiana Sports Beat. We appreciate you joining us. Thanks a lot to everybody for being on the show today, and we'll be back tomorrow. Until then, I will see you on the radio.